Welcome to the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob, where resilience meets reality. Hosted by Fireman Rob, a firefighter, Ironman athlete, and mental health advocate. This podcast is your destination for stories that inspire, motivate, and ignite change. Each episode features incredible guests who face life's toughest challenges head on, sharing their journeys of courage, perseverance, and triumph. From first responders to world-class athletes to everyday heroes, these are the stories that remind us all of the strength we have within. Get ready to forge your own path, because here, we don't just overcome, we rise above. This is Forged in the Fires with Fireman Rob.
All right, welcome back to Forged in the Fires podcast. I'm your host, Fireman Rob. Today, we're going to go against ordinary. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to go against ordinary because this is what we're about today. I have a great guest. Started in the Royal Canadian Air Force, is changing lives through leadership. And you know what? I was not going to try her last name in French because this would be really bad. And my mom, who teaches French her whole life, would be just appalled by me. But Isabelle Fortin, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know that your mother speaks French. How come?
She speaks fluent French and Spanish. She's a French and Spanish teacher. And so it was, I didn't want to disgrace the last name by even attempting it. That'd be terrible. It'd be terrible. Well, it's such a pleasure to have you on today. I love your story. I love the against ordinary because it's such a powerful thing. I have kids. So tell me more about what that's about, because it's so important to not just be what everybody else is.
It's about tapping into who you are. I heard this sentence in a TED Talk that I must have watched about 100 times. And it struck with me in every sense of who I am, in every cell of my body. And the TEDx is by a woman called Caroline McHugh. And the name of the TEDx is The Art of Being Yourself. And it only lasts 20 minutes. And she said the greatest sentence I had ever heard in my life. And that's individuality really is all it's cracked up to be. And let me tell you, Rob, when I heard that the first time, I went, and this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. She had just put into words what I had felt in my bones for decades.
Wow.
And it's become the slogan of my company, which the name of the company is Against the Ordinary. And I just went, it is about being who you are. You weren't created by mistake. And truly, it doesn't matter what you believe in. Believe in God, don't believe in God. That doesn't matter for this particular topic.
Right.
You weren't created by mistake, and you were created like no other human being on earth. How extraordinary is that? So when you tap into that, when you tap into your unique abilities, when you tap into your absolutely divine, extraordinary self, well, everything you do is against the ordinary.
How do you do? I love that because it's so powerful. How do you, as we grow up, our vision really, our visual really deters us from seeing the mental capacity or that potential that we have. How did you as yourself take that, what you heard from that TED Talk, and translate it into that inner belief of I am original?
Yeah. I think the biggest insult you can tell me in my personal life is, "Oh, you're just like everybody else." Damn, no, no, no,
I
no,
won't tell you that.
no, 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 I'm not. And even if there are a lot of similarities, because I do believe that there are more things that unite us, that there are things that divide us. And when you tap into your humanity, you see other people for their humanity,
Well,
and you see their strength and how you can improve their lives, and in return hopefully they're going to improve yours. And if they don't, that's okay, because they're telling you who they are.
yeah.
And we are not meant to resonate with everybody, and that's okay. That's quite okay. And we have to just recognize that this person is doing the best that they can with who they are, with the tools they've been provided, and with what they are willing to do and learn and grow into this time around. And that's it. That doesn't mean that they're all for me.
Right.
I meet people all the time. I meet leaders all the time that are willing to chuck a whole lot of money at me, and I go, no, thanks. Because what I got to teach, you're not ready to learn.
Yeah.
If the leader isn't willing to look at themselves first, and do something about that and adapt to others, well, then that doesn't mean they're bad. It's just they're not my cup of tea, and that's okay.
Right.
So, but stepping into who you are is that's the deal. That's the deal. That's where your job is to figure out just how different you are from everybody else and tap into that. That's your job. That's the deal.
Yeah. And you said something that hit home with me. And I think it's, when I think of kids growing up, and when I think of a lot of adults as well, you're not meant to resonate with everybody. How do you get beyond that mindset? Because that's a huge stumbling block for a lot of people, because when somebody doesn't like who you are, somebody doesn't like how you did things or how you're doing things, or that you're bucking the system, how do you get yourself to just have that self-belief and that you can continue on that path? Because there's so much need, especially with social media and everything that's out there now, of I need to get likes, I need to get this. How do you do that?
Yeah, I think that social media screwed us a little bit, because
A little bit.
Yeah, because we get such a dopamine hit when we have likes and comments and positive and views, and we feel like we're all that in a bag of chips. And well, how do you do that? By knowing that you're not for everybody and not everybody is for you. Is just when you know who you are, and when you know that your intentions are good, when you know that your heart is good, when you know that you didn't do anything on purpose to hurt anybody, and you stand up in your own 2 feet, then everybody else's opinions is just that. It's an opinion.
Yeah.
And let's say you don't like me. We've been talking for 5 minutes, and already I'm not your cup of tea. It has nothing
You
to
are
do
my
with
cup of
me.
tea. Actually, my cup of coffee.
Okay.
I'm more of a coffee guy.
It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
It has nothing to do with me. Maybe I wake up stuff inside of you. I wake up old traumas in my demeanor, in the way that I express myself, in my French accent, with everything that I am. Maybe I'm waking up old wounds that aren't healed yet. And maybe you're not interested in healing them, and that's okay, because it's your life and you can do what the hell you want with it.
Right.
That's what we were given as humans. We were given the power of choice. And Rob, choice is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
Because you can choose to live outside your boots your entire life. You have that right. So when I look at leadership coach or team synergy coach and team building exercises, they often always say the same thing. Oh, find the common ground. If he plays guitar and you play guitar, you have something in common. And he likes pickleball and you love
Right.
pickleball, you have something in common. Well, how about the fact that that person is human doing the best that they can, and you're
Right.
human doing the best that you can? Isn't that enough?
Right.
Recognizing that the other person is just doing their damn best, and you don't know how many fights they're fighting. You don't know where they come from. You don't know their trauma. You haven't lived their trauma, and they haven't lived yours. So when you know that, you tend to not take things personally.
Right.
It's not
That's so
about
good.
you.
I love that statement. And that leads me to this question of how much of leadership is introspection, is looking at yourself.
Well, pretty much all of it.
That's what I was thinking
Actually,
too. Yeah.
leadership is for me, the three pillar of leadership is humility,
Yeah.
empathy, and adaptability.
Oh yeah.
And the resistance that I get when I get into that with a leader is, yeah, but my job is to get the job done. Nope. And there is something absolutely deficient in corporate America. I say America, in the corporate world, all
corporate
over the
world.
world. I believe, although there are parts of the world that are better at doing this, but they confuse management and leadership. Leadership is about taking care of people. Management is about getting things done.
Yeah.
And now they take every management positions and they call them leaders. No. A leader's job, the only job description is I take care of people. I make sure they have the right tools. They are given the right training. They are given space to be themselves. They're allowed to ask dumb questions. And I say that word on purpose because I truly don't believe there are dumb questions. Right. They're allowed to admit mistakes. And they're allowed to bring crazy ideas. Because, Rob, if people aren't allowed to admit that they made a mistake without being reprimanded or without being shamed, then growth is over.
Right.
If they're not allowed to ask questions, then learning is over. And if they're not allowed to bring crazy ass ideas, then innovation is over. So on a great team, you need to have all these things. And I work with leaders, but what I just said applies to parents. They apply to inside your community, inside the big family, inside of everything. If I go to my spouse and I say, that's a crazy idea, and I'm shut down every time, we might grow apart.
Right. How much when you're looking, I love this. How much when you're looking at leadership, because there's so many people, and I think you just hit it on the head, but there's so many people that go, I'm not a leader. How does that person start to have that realization? Because like what you're saying is everybody's a leader in some way, shape, or form in their life.
Yeah.
How does that person get out of that mindset of I'm not a leader, and actually see that you need to be a leader because this is your life. This is your opportunity.
By reframing what it means. I think that people are afraid of what it means because they have a misconception of what it's supposed to be. I'm not a leader means I'm not in charge. Right? That's what they're saying. Yeah. They're saying, I don't want the hassle. That's what they're saying.
There's a lot of meanings behind that one because I'm not in charge of my own life, too.
Hot damn it. Hallelujah, Rob.
We just figured it out.
Yeah.
But that's so true.
True. But that's what they're saying. Whenever I start working with a group, the first meeting that I have is always with the team leader. Mm-hmm. And very often, I'd say 8 times out of 10, they always tell me the same thing. Men, women, all walks of life, all industries, name it. They're humans. So they're all telling me the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, my teams, they're fighting for power. They're not. They're
Yeah.
fighting for recognition. They want to know, what is it about them? What is it that they bring to the table that nobody else does? And I have been doing this for a long time, Rob. I
Yeah.
have never met one single team member who was not excited about contributing to the team. They
Yeah.
just need to know how. And
Yeah.
sometimes it's just by reshaping the task distribution. And sometimes it's about overhauling the entire thing. But the answer doesn't have to be complicated. It's actually quite the opposite. The answer is always simple. But our ego and our brains, they want to complicate things because, if it's complicated and I figured it out, then, I have much value and much
That's so
wisdom I
true.
bring, like Yoda would say.
Yeah.
But if you keep it simple and when you say, hey, listen, you and I, maybe, we're not meant to get along, but how about we figure out a way to just work together
Yeah.
as two human beings doing their damn best?
Now, how do you see? I love that. And how do you see? Because you've been around a lot of different teams,
Yep.
and I can see this happen when there's managers or leaders who want to have like mindsets around them. How do you get people to work beyond if they all see their unique ability or their uniqueness as exactly the same? How do you get people to move past that and go, that's not your only unique part. There's more. And you can be an asset to this company by doing this instead of what you think you're special at. How do you get people to do that?
That's when I start working with a team, the first thing that everybody does, and it starts with the leader, is a psychometric evaluation.
Okay.
I want to know how their brain is wired. So what's your cognitive preference? What's your behavioral preference?
Right.
What motivates you? Because that's another myth out there is, I want to motivate my team. Yeah, guess what? You can't. What you can do though is tap into their own motivation, the motivations
Okay.
that are already there. So if you take cognitive preferences or communication preferences or behavioral preferences as the kind of car that you drive, the motivations and the core values is the fuel. So if you're flying an F-18, maybe you don't put the same kind of gas as you would do your lawnmower. Maybe you need better gas, right? So it's the same thing. So when the leader gets to find out exactly what motivates and how these people are motivated and how do they learn? Will they read a book on any subject just because it's there? Or are they only interested in learning in the subjects that are interesting to them? So when you tap into that, it's like speed dating. But you go from not knowing somebody to knowing exactly how to communicate, which words to use, which words to avoid, how distant. When you walk in that person's office, do you only speak in bullet points, or does that person actually need you to sit down and say, hey, how was your weekend? How's your mom, by the way?
Right.
So some people are like that. That's the way their brain is wired. It is a need. They're not being picky. It's not a pet peeve. They need that human interaction. They need it. So feed into that for 30 seconds.
Right.
But one of the mistakes that we all do, and I'll be the first one to admit that I do it, I make that mistake all the time. Ask my boyfriend, he'll tell you. I make that mistake all the time. Is I think that communication is about what I need to say. But how do I say it? Right? So about 15 years ago, I was giving a conference. Here, locally, I was asked by a nonprofit to go chat with them for about 45 minutes, which, I do my part when I can. So I went to talk about efficient communication. At the end of the 45 minutes, this older lady came to me and said, Isabelle, please help me. I've been living in my house for 37 years. And ever since we visited the house before purchasing it, I've been hating my kitchen. And I'm trying to convince my husband, whom I love, by the way. This is not, I'm not angry with him, but I've been trying to convince him for the love of all that is good to renovate my kitchen. And you can tell she's desperate, Rob. She's desperate. She's had enough. She's a housewife, whereas there's nothing wrong with that. She loves her husband. He's been a good husband. He's been a good father. He's been a good provider. But he's an accountant, and he controls the purse string.
The money.
And he's a little bit frugal, to be polite. And she's had it. She said, Isabelle, I went from mentioning it twice a year to mentioning it every time he is in the kitchen, how much I hate that kitchen. And I hate becoming this nagging wife because that's not who I am either. And because he deserves better, but you don't understand. This kitchen is nagging at me now. So how, please, for the love of God, Isabelle, please tell me how to have my husband renovate my kitchen. How do I convince him? And I looked at her and I said, she wasn't expecting my answer. I said, I have no idea. And I'm the communication specialist. She just heard me talk about communication for 45 minutes. She's looking at me going, what are you, stupid? And I said, talk to me about your husband.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to convince him. Talk to me about your husband. So what does he do? He's an accountant. Okay. So what does he do for fun? And then she starts, oh, he loves to fish. And actually we bought a cottage and blah, blah, blah. And she goes on and on and on about how much he loves fishing. Yeah. And he's going to retire in about 5 years and they're going to move to that cottage that's close to the lake so that he can go fishing. And then I go, I never gave her any answer, by the way. And then I go, okay, so would the house sell faster if the kitchen was renovated and not dated 1967? Because their house was built in 1967.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Okay. And would the house sell for more money than it would cost to renovate the kitchen? Like, what's the difference between selling it as is or spending $40,000 on the kitchen? But what's the ROI on that? 9 months later, I got pictures of her brand new kitchen. Because it wasn't about her. Bring the other person into what you want, but do it genuinely.
Yeah.
Do it genuinely. What is good for them? Tap into how does this improve their lives and see how quickly the resistance you're getting is just going to melt like butter.
That's
because
so true.
Everybody, and I'm including me in this, everybody's favorite topic is ourselves.
You're right.
So when you know that, first of all, you're not taking it personally. You just haven't found the right angle yet. When you find the right angle, you get what you want.
It's so true. When you talk about like personal development, when you talk about, even business development, so many people look at as though it's like a operational manual or an instruction book, and they don't understand the customization of it. It's hilarious. Like how I know you know what I'm talking about because it's so funny. Like that's a perfect example of that. How important, what would you say in your mind from all of your life's experiences, how important is it, but also how hard is it for somebody to understand the customization of that development process?
Oh my God. Well, how long
do you have 20 hours?
Got? I'm going to have to be your guest for the next 5 weeks.
I know.
So the first thing I'm going to say is if you don't understand people, you don't understand business.
Yeah.
But it even goes further than that. If you don't understand people, you're never going to get what you want.
Oh, that's so true.
Period.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get honey by kicking the beehive.
Right.
It just doesn't work. So 100% of your employees are people. 100% of your customers are people. 100% of your family members are people. So you need to understand people. And we all have an ego. It's not all the same size. It is not all healthy. But I don't do ego bashing because egos are extremely necessary. When you get in trouble is when your ego is riding shotgun.
Yeah.
But ego is what is preventing you from jumping in front of a moving bus. So you need an ego. You just, need to put it in check once in a while. But tapping into what is good for the other person. And you know what? I sound like I'm, holier than God. I truly am not. Rob, let me tell you, I am not. I don't do that selfishly, but I do it for selfish reasons. I do that because that's how I get what I want.
Yeah.
But in my energy, I have to truly care that it is also good for the other person.
So true.
So I can't convince anybody to come along on my ride to get me what I want if I genuinely do not believe it's also good for them.
Right.
And we're back to, hey, maybe that person just doesn't resonate with me, and that's okay.
Yeah. That's so true. That's so true. I want people to make sure they can find you. You need to go to againsttheordinary.org. You can find out so much. I love your message. I love what you talk about because it's so powerful to people. The future of leadership is human centered. Is so true.
Yes.
And when you look at it from a perspective of how you're going about teaching people, I love that method because it's needed. People need to not. With 3 kids of my own, I see how so many people are trying to be like other people.
Mm-hmm.
If you could give some people a message of how they can start this journey into finding their human experience. Because so many people haven't found that human experience, especially nowadays with technology. What would be that thing that you'd say, you need to start doing this to start this journey? It's not going to end ever because it ends when you die. But what would be that starting point for some people to maybe be that?
Oh, goodness gracious.
I know it's a big ask.
I know, but that's okay. Give yourself grace.
Oh,
Give yourself grace. Forgive yourself for past mistakes I truly don't believe we make mistakes. We just learn something. Just seize the opportunity and go, hey, listen, I think it was Maya Angelou that said, you do what you can until you know better and then you do better. So don't dwell on, I did this and I effed this up seriously and I've lost friends and I've lost friends and they were right to walk the hell out of my life. And it's okay because who I was at the time, I was doing the best with what I knew. I was struggling with traumas on different fronts and that's it. So start with that. Start by giving yourself grace that you did what you could with who you were, and now you get to decide to be better and equip yourself. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. Humility is thinking about yourself less.
That's so true.
It's
so many words of wisdom. So many words of wisdom from you. I love it. Make sure you go to againsttheordinary.org. I always end my podcast the same way. Are you ready for 3 questions?
Sure.
All right, here's the first one. If you could go back to your 18-year-old self and give yourself one piece of advice, what's that going to be?
Oh, every time I'm asked this question, I always say the same thing. I would not have listened.
That's why.
So my
it doesn't matter what you say.
Yeah, no, actually, with that in mind, I would have said, "Oh, Chica, would you just chill?" I took life so freaking seriously when I was 18. Oh my God. It felt, to me, life felt like a life sentence. So I truly hope that the 18-year-old version of me would just relax a little bit and understand that life ain't that serious. The proof is everybody dies.
Yeah. You get one go and you die.
That's my answer.
I love it. All right, the second one. So everybody has struggles and challenges in their life, and they're going through them. If you could give people just 2 tips, 2 things that they can incorporate into their daily lives to continue to move forward, to continue to thrive, what would those 2 things be?
The first one is gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
And be grateful for everything, even the challenges. Be grateful for the lesson it brings you. Be grateful for who you are, for what you've done, for your health, for your legs, for your eyes, for your money, even if you don't have any. Be grateful. And the trick with gratitude is feel grateful. It's not only to sit down at the kitchen table and write, "I am grateful today because when you write why you are truly grateful, it connects you to the vibration of being grateful, because feelings is the vibrational tool. That's why we have feelings. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I'm back to grace. Give yourself grace. Grace. Be patient with yourself. This is a big, giant, exploration. Being who we are is complicated.
Yeah.
Because mindset is literally reading the label from inside the bottle. And that's hard.
I love that one. So many nuggets here. So many nuggets. I love it.
I've been at this a while.
It's like having a gold rush.
Well, we're going to have to do this again.
I know. This isn't a one-time occurrence. All right, this last one's going to be fun. All right, so if you could have coffee at a firehouse table with 3 individuals, so in other words, at a firehouse table, you can ask any question. It's not off the table. With 3 individuals, they can be deceased or alive. Who would these 3 people be?
Oh my goodness. Bono.
Oh, nice. I've never heard that one in 6 seasons. That's amazing.
My mother, because my mother passed away, she was 36 and I was 5.
Wow. Okay.
So my mother, and the last one is going to surprise you. More than likely, Jesus.
That's a great one.
Yeah. I'd be very curious to find out what his human experience was like.
Yeah. That would be a great question. Yeah. Ask before we have too much coffee, though.
That'd I have more than 3, but if I have to only say 3, that would be it.
Well, like you said, we're going to probably have another one.
Yay! I get to answer that again.
I love it. Make sure you go to againsttheordinary.org, Isabelle. It's been a pleasure to have you on today.
Thank you so much, and looking forward to the next time.
All right. Thanks for joining us today. We'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening and supporting the Forged in the Fires podcast with Fireman Rob. Remember, don't forget to like and subscribe to this podcast. And please share this episode with a friend or family member. To find out more about Fireman Rob, or if you have a question, go to www.firemanrob.com. Until next time, live your life forged in the fires.